Sweethearts, it's Rowan, and can't really see the brooch on my hat today, but I decided, oh, actually, this feels a lot better on my back right now. I'm going to mix things up a little bit. I really liked how I looked in the thank you video, filming in my beautiful peacock chair. Oh, I look so tiny in it. Oh well. I'm 4'11", so it's bound to happen, right? And Murnau, the kitty, pardon all the crap on the floor, I've been arting. Kitty, he's so cute. He's so cute, and he wouldn't let me in the chair until just now, so I'm being a little bit creative with the lighting, and because I don't like the light all up in my face. It just, I don't think it looks right. I don't think it looks right. I think even if I did get a large enough channel to warrant the expense of one of those ring lights everybody uses, well, first off, I've seen people who wear glasses like I do with them, and they do not go well with glasses. Secondly, I really prefer the, you know, all the shadows and the lighting. I like having a bit of a sort of expressionist look to my videos. So I decided, I tried shooting it last week while I was mending my leather jacket. I did get around to mending my leather jacket, and it's lovely. And I was shooting this because Creepy Corners loves how I do what I consider very menial tasks while I'm filming sometimes. And I was filming this while I was doing my leather jacket and answering all the questions. And I had to do a weird angle just because the light and my vision, and even though you're just like finding the holes to, you know, sew the leather pieces back together again, you know, still the video ended up far too big. I do this all from my phone for the time, and and then what happened was it got too big to upload. You know, the YouTube app on my phone just kept crashing out while I tried to do it, so I had to delete the whole thing. And it occurred to me, I could have just like re-exported it in SD rather than HD video, but oh well, this is where we're at today. So, the gender tag! That's what I was going to do today, isn't it? So, question, and I've omitted the last couple questions because they're completely irrelevant to me right now. So, question number 1, how do you self-identify your I hate the way some of these questions are written, but I'm going to keep it as close as I possibly can, right? How do you identify your gender, and what does that definition mean to you? I do see myself as having a male gender. I am very non-conforming, and I am, if you couldn't tell from the scars here, and, well, you haven't seen those down there. I am trans male. I've mentioned this before, too. And in the Get Ready With Me, I'm putting on my androgel, and I mention it there, too. So, I am trans male. This means I was, you know, assigned a female gender at birth based on apparent anatomy. And I live as male. Granted, a very fabulous one, but I live as male. When I was young, I always identified with fairly effeminate men. Like when I was 5 years old, I wanted to be Freddie Mercury, and not, you know, the mid-'80s mustachioed Freddie Mercury, you know, in the videos for the, what's it called? The Flash Gordon movie, but I loved that movie as a kid because Freddie Mercury was in the soundtrack, and I wanted to be Freddie Mercury. But I loved the 70s jumpsuit, long hair, glam rock Freddie Mercury. When I was about 13, I got a perm in my hair so I could look more like Mark Bolan, since I look a bit like him in the face. I've got a couple friends who agree with me on that, but my hair is fairly straight naturally. I think it's like a 1C as far as texture goes, but 1B, 1C, like not stick straight, but there's a bit of a wave, and depending on the day, it's either got a little bit more wave or a little bit less wave. So then what happened was, and, you know, when I was 12, I dressed up as Boy George for Halloween, so, you know, like, all the signs were there that this is a fancy, fancy little boy who just happened to have, but I got that fixed, so that's what that means to me, is I am effeminate and fabulous. Number 2, what pronouns honor you? I'm like, again, I hate the way these questions are worded, but whatever. So, my preferred pronouns would be he, him, his, being male of sorts. If you don't know, I'll accept they, and I will correct you more often than not. Number 3, describe your style of clothing that you most often wear. Most often, as we saw in that Spend the Day With Me video a few days back, I am often in jeans and a t-shirt. Sometimes no makeup, but more often than not, I do have a little bit of eyeliner at least, and pencil it on my brows. But hair back in a bunch. But when left to my own devices, you know, like if I'm not busy, or if I'm, you know, just sometimes like Friday, I did the outfit of the day video on Friday, and I just felt like dressing up. That's why I decided, you know what, I'm just gonna do this. You know, I'm just gonna dress up, and that's how I spent the day. Was in a skirt with a very low cut, so you see the little hairs I haven't epilated, and a bolero, and okay, I put a coat on it because it's winter up here in Michigan, but it's like that's just how I spent the day, and so, you know, either jeans and a t-shirt or junk shop bohemian. Talk about your choices with body hair. How do you style your hair? Do you have facial hair? And what do you choose to shave or not shave? Body hair, I epilate my legs and my chest. Well, usually. I've been a bit behind. I do have a bit of a history with self-harm under times of stress, so, and I went from that to pulling out hair on my head to then cutting my hair, just because I've had long hair since I was about pretty much, you know, my whole life, or well, most of my life. And when I was 13, I shifted to, you know, cutting my hair instead of pulling it out and cutting. And because I had read articles, that's when articles about self-harm were starting to come out in magazines. And I figured, you know, because I started doing it before, you know, I noticed this was a thing that, you know, was fairly common. So when I noticed that there were articles about it, I was like, oh god, this is fairly common. My father was already convinced that, you know, I was, because he'd read some articles, and, you know, like, even though the psychiatrists were telling him, oh, no, it's just puberty, it's not bipolar no, Mr. McElroy, it's not bipolar disorder, your child is not bipolar. But no, he was convinced I was bipolar, and, he was convinced I was doing drugs, or would do drugs, or, you know, would, you know, have a shit ton of sex. So I was like, you know what, I'm gonna do something else now, so that, you know, he doesn't actually have a reason to be up my ass all the time. So, but now I started, and I was getting haircuts under times of stress, but, about 4 years ago now, I Yeah, little under 5, so about 4.5 years ago, let's say, I made a spiritual promise to stop cutting my hair. And I'd already been, no longer biting my nails. I was biting my nails, in grade school a lot. So I went from nail biter to cutter to hair puller to, just getting my hair cut under times of stress. And, so, because the anxiety medications only do so much, especially when you've developed habits like this, it's very hard to break self-harm or self-mutilation or even I don't know, like, having long hair has been, like, a big part of my, physical identity for pretty much since I started school, because I was always the kid with the really long hair, because my mother didn't make me go get my hair cut, so, and, I grew up with, my mother was a Frank Zappa groupie, and she loved Black Sabbath as well, and of course I listened to Queen, so obviously, I didn't have the idea ingrained in my head that boys need to have short hair. Obviously, the rock stars can have long hair, so, you go that long, and so it's kind of like, deforming myself, in a way, was how I, related to getting my hair cut, so, so when you've got a habit like that, it's very hard to break, so I switched to an epilator because, well, first off, I don't like body hair. I find it itchy and uncomfortable, no matter the season. So, I don't like body hair, but I hate shaving because, in my case, I've got very sensitive skin, but I've also got very thick hair. I've got fairly thick hair. I think, well, it's an M for thickness, but it's, the ponytail weight, I think we're at, 3, Roman numeral 3, on the density, so, but the body hair has always been fairly coarse. Even this, it's like wire here, not like normal chest hairs on the men I've been with. So, and my legs, it's a little bit finer just because I've stopped shaving, but, it's not, it's itchy as shit. Doesn't matter the season, doesn't matter anything. So I switched to an epilator because A, it helps me get rid of body hair, which I already hated, and B, it gives me that pain I crave for under times of stress and anxiety. So my relationship with body hair is complicated, but I don't like it, so the complicated, my method for removal has complicated reasons behind it. It's beneficial all around, since I'm not actually harming myself or deforming myself, or, my physical sense of self, but, but it does give me that endorphin rush from the pain, because epilators hurt like shit. As far as facial hair goes, facial hair is disgusting, and I know this because I had a massive, I used to keep mutton chops down to about here. If you look back on my Instagram far enough, you'll notice I used to keep them down to about here, and for a while I kept a Royale. That's what it's called. It's a Royale, right about here for a little while longer, but then it just like, you know what, I was just like, fuck it, I've got some grays down there, I'm gonna just shave it. So yeah, I kept mutton chops down to about here for a while, until I had to shave for a modeling job that I had, and I noticed there was a massive blackhead right about here, and it took me a couple weeks to work it out finally, and when it did come out, it was about half, and you can find this on Instagram, it's about half the size and same color as, I shit you not, a corn nut. And so, at that point, I was just like, no, I'm not anymore. Not anymore. It's disgusting. And, you know, I know that blackheads aren't technically dirt. They're oils and skin that have become, you know, clogged up the hair follicle. You know, it's... I've been to a dermatologist, and, you know, when you have better access to washing that out, you know, they tend to not get so big or so prolific. So, you know, being able to cleanse your skin properly does help keep them under control to an extent. So, and I've known I've always been prone to blackheads, so, yeah, I'm not keeping facial hair anymore, and as far as I'm concerned, if you've got facial hair, you've probably got a big fucking nasty blackhead under there somehow. You probably think it's a mole. It's not. It's gross. Shave your fucking face. Just, I'm not getting monetized. I'll swear all the fuck I want. Okay. Talk about cosmetics. Do you choose... Yes, of course I choose to wear makeup. Do you paint your nails? Sometimes, because... I do a lot of stuff all day, and they chip a lot, so I don't keep up with it all the time, you know, but I do like it for, like, the day and a half they look good. What types of soaps? I fucking wash! What types of soaps and perfumes do you use, if any? If any. Like, if you use soap. My soap is a Yardley English Lavender, because why? It's on sale at Walgreens all the time. I get it anywhere between 69 cents and $1 a bar. Normally it's about $1.75 or so. So when it's on sale, and I stock up when it's on sale, I've also got one of those little, like, scrubby, crocheted, wash cloth things that you put the soap inside. I made it. So and it does double the life. It does indeed double the life of your bar. So I've got, like, a bar of soap lasts about 6 to 10 weeks for me. You know, much like a bottle of body wash used to. And if you've been watching me long enough, you know that I'm not a fan of plastics if it can be avoided. And so this has the added benefit that it comes in a little cardboard box, and you throw out you recycle the box. And you don't have any plastic. So, you know, in the little crocheted washcloth thingy, it lasts about as long as a bottle of body wash. It doesn't have the plastics. I've got the exfoliant on the washcloth thing, so... You know, and I've seen soap for men, you know, in the fancy pants brands at, what's that place, Bed Bath & Beyond, that are like lavender and chamomile scented. So don't tell me lavender's, you know, not an unisex scent. And speaking of unisex scents, I've been wearing the same, signature cologne since, I want to say about 1994, when I was... first able to afford a bottle of it, is CK1. That has literally been my scent for almost 25 years now. Like, about a year or two after it came out, almost 25 years, I've been wearing CK1. Occasionally I'll mix it up with something opium-scented, or something, you know, or like maybe some lavender oil, but, you know, more often than not, daily wear, it's CK1. That is my scent. It smells really good on me, according to half my friends, and that's the end of that. Paige, have you experienced being misgendered? Daily. Daily or nearly so. But even in jeans and a t-shirt, no makeup, but at the same time, I'm 4'11", I've got long hair, I'm fucking adorable. If so, how often? Yeah, so daily. I correct people if they notice. I thank them and say, and go on with my day, hopefully. That's about it. Do you experience dysphoria, and how does it affect you? So this is a little bit more involved because, let's see, I did have great dysphoria, like, to the point where I would, like, even when I was asleep, I would be, you know, clawing, at my chest, you know, trying to pull certain apparati off of my body while I was sleeping. I'd wake up with deep gouges in my skin sometimes. So, obviously before this was deeply dysphoric for me. I was once misgendered because of that chest. My last bra size was a 38K. So that's A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K. So, 1 inch, 2 inch, 3 inch. So, yeah, you do the maths. It was like a 62-inch bust line, 38K bra. So, needless to say, I never binded. I never bound my chest. And I was at a trans support group, and somebody misgendered me at the trans support group. And this was like just after, you know, we started, you know, getting people's pronouns, and, you know, somebody misgendered me there, and I just, like, ran out, just clawing at my chest. The moderator, you know, had to, you know, chase me down and just, like, calm me down, and, you know, and it was wonderful. Well, his reaction to it was wonderful. He was wonderful. The misgendering was not, obviously. So, that went down a bit after the surgery, and, you know, and then, that was about 10 years ago this January. June. June. It was in June. It was on the June the 13th. I remember because it was a Friday the 13th. Let's see. Then the following October, Devil's Night, if you're from the Detroit area, was my first testosterone injection, and then a couple years ago I switched to androgel. And last May, so May the 4th, 2017, I had metoidioplasty surgery, which basically it takes what you've already got. So it takes what you've already got, which has been made bigger from testosterone, and uses surgery magic to make a tiny penis. Dysphoria is, like, almost a non-issue now since my last surgery. So, I used to, and, you know, some trans people, like, surgery doesn't even help, even though, you know, just for whatever reasons, usually related to being, unaccepted, for their, you know, as their gender by friends and family. So, but with a lot of trans people, you know, surgeries are very helpful, and, you know, if you do, you know, hope to get surgery, and you've got a lot of dysphoria, you know, just, you know, do whatever you can to make it happen, because it may be very helpful to you. Again, it's not a guarantee. You know, some people find themselves suddenly more dysphoric after surgery somehow, like, you know, they didn't anticipate it emotionally, so, you know, but still, it's like, you know, if I could have done it differently, I probably would have done it all just, like, maybe a year or two earlier, but as it stands, you know, I did it when I did it, and, you know, I'm mostly okay now. You know, the dysphoric, feelings are mostly under control. Recently, the young man I'm cohabitating with, he didn't realize I was trans when we first met. He just thought I was, you know, like a regular, you know, cisgender gay boy, which is nice. It's nice. It's nice that he assumed I was, you know, non-binary, but otherwise, you know, AMAB, and somewhere male spectrum, you know, but, you know, that's what he thought at first. That's what he told me. But you know, he's had some. You know, he's cis and gay, so there's some things he clearly doesn't quite, you know, get, and you know, he's trying to be comfortable with things, but, you know, he says it's a learning experience. So, you know, again, because, you know, like I said, it's like what you end up with. It's about, you know, you're hung like your thumb, or a Vienna sausage, or a craisin. If you get the reference, I love you, and I asked the author of that comic the best questions during his Q&A tour about 10 years ago that anybody asked him on the entire tour, and it was the first stop he made, too. I did. I asked him the best fucking questions, too. And speaking of questions, let's do the last one that I'm doing, which is, are you interested in having children? And the answer is no. I never was. I never was. I understand that some people do end up changing their mind. But obviously I am one of those people who has not. And at this point, I'm going on 40 years old. I probably won't change my mind, simply because I was raised by parents who are about 40 years old when I was born. And as far as I'm concerned, having children even that late in life, it's selfish. It's selfish. Because, you know, you are so much older, you don't have the energy for, you know, very young children at that point. I mean, it wasn't too bad on myself because I was a relatively sedentary kid. I loved reading. I was a total bookworm as a little kid. I went to choir practice and choir training, and I took some operatic lessons when I was about 10 through 12 until my mother burned too many bridges. Long story there. But you know, you don't have the energy, you know, and your own, you know, if you're already, you know, in your 40s, your parents are at the very least in their 60s, more often than not. So you are intentionally cutting off an extended support system for your kids. And so, you know, I had my grandmother, I had my parents, and I had my grandmother, and I had my mother's parents. And, you know, when you do things to, you know, like intentionally deprive a child of a support system that they might need, like, it's selfish. You just want to have kids in your 40s to prove you can do it. Just, that's all you want. And nothing you say can convince me of that. So, you know, if for some reason I've decided I owe it to the world to have a hand in raising a child, you know, next year or later, I'm going to see what I can do about fostering, you know, like a teenager, because, you know, they need it the most. But I don't know how well I'll do with that because, you know, I myself am disabled. I've got, you know, I have very little money. I have a tiny apartment. You know, but, you know, I can volunteer with kids. You know, I don't have to, and plus, like, I can't even make kids at this point anymore. Like, you know, genital surgery aside, like, I did it all in one go. Like, that's about it for this. I got the video down to about 10 fewer minutes than the last one, so let's see how much more I can cut out of it, and hopefully, carpal tunnel syndrome, hands asleep. Plus I was holding the selfie stick for about half an hour, wasn't I? So I'm gonna edit this down, and let's see where he can go, and hopefully it'll upload properly. So, bats and kisses, lovelies. I will see, I will see you again when I see you. Bye-bye.